So much we do, we take for granted. We take for granted so much of our life. We take for granted the simple things. We take for granted the big things. We just, things in our life become status quo normal, right? As you can notice, looking in my eyes, I'm having a hard time keeping them open, and they're glassy. Looks like I'm crying. Looks like I've got like some emotional. I'm not dealing with anything emotional right now. What I'm dealing with, and they're just burning. What I'm dealing with is I've got an infection that started in my eye, one eye, about a week and a half ago, and it went away. I got antibiotics, drops, doing little drops in my eye. It went away. Thought so. Went out this last weekend. Ran around the island of Kauai. It took me 21 and a half hours. It was an absolutely amazing, epic experience. But what I think it did is I don't think the infection was fully gone. And I think it weakened my immune system to a point where now all of a sudden it's affecting both my eyes. So I don't have my contacts in because I can't have my contacts in while I'm getting my antibiotics. And obviously the contacts are jacked anyways because they're all in the infection, whatever. So I'm sitting here and I'm reflecting on this, like the fact that I can't see well and my eyes hurt. It's hard for me to keep my eyes open. Like literally sitting here, it's bright outside. I mean, it's sunny, so it's a beautiful day, but I'm in the shade and it's bright enough that it's making it hard for my eyes to stay open. And I'm reflecting on the fact that, man, I've never really given my eyesight much thought. It's like the thing that you have that you utilize every single day, it doesn't become really, you don't even know it's there until you can't have it. Till you don't use it, right? It's, you don't even notice that you have these certain. It's like the things people do for you. It's like if you're married, like for me with my wife, like I know what it's like to not have a wife, and I know what it's like to have a wife. And sometimes we start to take things for granted. We start to take the things around us for granted. We start to take things that are common to us for granted. But there's people out there who would look at the life we have, or look at the things we have, or look at the experiences we have, and they're like, man, that's pretty significant. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty awesome. Like there's people right now that can't see. There's people literally in the world right now, their eyes don't work at all. Right. And there's a part of me that's like, man, wouldn't that be the case for me? Right. And it's coming in intense right now. Like, look at my eyes. I can't even keep them open. I'm like, look like I'm like crying. They won't stay open. And then they're super sensitive to the sun. And I've reflected on that because I'm looking, okay, so this is just my eyes right now. This is my eyes. What else? What else am I taking for granted? What else in my world that I'm looking at and I'm not seeing and realizing what it actually is, and the value and the benefit that it actually is to my life, to my world, to my very existence, right? And I sit there and I don't, I don't, I don't give it the respect that it deserves. I don't allow it to use it for gratitude in my life. And I walk around life, and a lot of times this is how you can very easily fall into a victim, right? You become this big victim to life where things just aren't working, things aren't the way you want them, and think this is this way and this is that way. You start complaining about all the things that you don't have, all the things that you're not, right? But not realizing that, man, you have so much to be grateful for. There's so much about your world. There's so many opportunities that you have right now that others don't have. There's so many things that you have the capability to do that others don't have the capability to do. And so looking at that, I think it helps us throw things into perspective, because oftentimes we can look at where we're going, what we want out of life, right? The goals, the targets, the things that we want to go after, and we see the gap between where we're at and where we are going. And we see what we don't have. We can just see it. It's obvious. So we see what we don't have. And we start to discredit the things that we do have. We start to discredit the life that we do have. Right. For example, a great example of this, outside of my eyes, but like in the monetary things, like things that we've bought or purchased or growth and level, etc. Like the car I drive right now, not that many years ago, I would have been absolutely shocked beyond belief if I had that car. Like I would have. There's a version of me in the past that looks at the car I have now as the dream, the total dream. Like couldn't get better than that. Couldn't ever imagine having it. Couldn't imagine having this car. And here I sit having the car, and it's normal to me. And actually, there's parts about the car, and I'm like, right? And it's normal. It's become the new standard, the new normal. And so then I start to take for granted what it actually is, right? My car draws attention, so I do get acknowledged. I don't get acknowledged. My car gets acknowledged quite a bit. And so that does help me remember that this used to be my dream car, but now it's just my normal car, right? It's a normal thing this is a normal thing I have, and so I start taking for granted. And we can do this all over. We can do this in our relationships. right? We can do this when we don't have a marriage, we don't have a relationship with somebody, the significant other, and then all of a sudden we get into this relationship, and everything's new and exciting, and it's awesome, and you're like, oh, this is great, and there's this, and there's that, and there's this, and there's that, and then you start to take for granted the things that they do. You start to take for granted for the opportunities that that relationship provides for you, and then it becomes the new normal, and you don't see it the same way. You don't value it the same way, which means you stop valuing the person the same way. This is where divorce comes from. This is how people quote unquote fall out of love. That's ridiculous. That's not a thing. You don't fall out of love. It's not a thing. It's a conscious choice, and it's a conscious choice every single day. You stop doing the very things that you were doing that made you in love in the first place. So there's so many different ways you could look at this, but I want you to take a minute and look at your world around body, being, balance, and business. Where in your world right now have have you just taken for granted something in your life that's actually pretty cool, right? I've taken for granted having healthy eyes. I've taken for granted the car I have. I've taken for granted the home I live in, right? I'm sitting out here on my lanai, right? That goes all the way around the house. There's my front yard, right? I've got this beautiful 2-acre lot in Kauai, Hawaii. And that becomes normal for me. You know, I've got a 400-foot driveway that is epic and lined with palm trees. That becomes normal for me, and I no longer value it the same way. So, like, I can sit around here and identify things that I actually need to be grateful for. Parts of my life that I need to be like, man, that's actually really cool. So, where's yours? Identify that thing, cross body, being, balance, and business. Once you have identified that thing, what's one thing that you can do? What's one switch you can make on it? Once you've seen it, you're like, oh, I need to be grateful there. And maybe show some gratitude. If it's a person, maybe you can send them a text, right? If it's just a matter of acknowledging and being aware of it, right? Say a prayer to God and ask Him to say thanks. Thanks for these opportunities you've created for me so that I could build this life that I have now. These things that used to be impossible for me to obtain, I now obtain them, right? Find that thing, take that one action, show gratitude in that one way, which will get you one step closer to really being able to understand and figure out this game. So that's all I got for you guys today. Just be grateful. Be grateful for your life. Be grateful for what you have. You have a lot around you. Even those of you guys who listen and you don't feel like you have a lot, there's a lot that you have that God gave you, and it's a gift. It's every day is a gift, and it's a gift for you to acknowledge and return praises to Him. So have a fantastic rest of your day. This is Trevor J. White signing off.